Hello, my sweet friends. It's nice to see you again. Come along and read with me. It's my favorite place to be when Raggedy Auntie reads. Let's discover trustworthiness. Hello, my sweet friends. Welcome back to the Book Nook. I'm Raggedy Auntie, and I am so excited about today's word. It's a pillar of character that means honesty and truthfulness, but it's a big, long word called trustworthiness. Its color is blue. True blue trustworthiness. That's how I remember it. Now, how do we know that something is trustworthy or not? It can be very hard right now, especially when we hear adults saying things like, oh, that's fake news, or oh, she was lying. And it can get very confusing. But that's when we make sure that we're doing everything truthfully, honestly, and we exhibit our own trustworthiness. Today, Auntie Potato, Auntie Pearl, and I have some wonderful stories about trust and trustworthiness for you. And we have a little song about truthfulness. And we have a little song about truthfulness. So why don't you join us? Hey, let's read. Our first story is called Gracie's Big Surprise, a story of trust and understanding. It's by Karen Raven and it's illustrated by Carrie Phillips. The leaves were turning red and gold. The weather was turning crisp and cool, and then, at 2:30 on a Tuesday afternoon, Granville Groundhog made the big announcement. Fall was officially in the air. After that, each of the animals knew it was time to get busy preparing for winter in his or her own special way. Brad Badger hurried to finish canning vegetables from his garden. Burl Squirrel started getting serious about his acorn collection. Priscilla Opossum started knitting a new nightcap and crocheting a new afghan and embroidering a new pillowcase. Benson Bear and the twins Hunky and Dory started eating some more so they'd be ready for their long winter's nap. And then there was Gracie Goose. Gracie started helping everybody else with everything they had to do. That was just the thoughtful, lovable kind of goose that Gracie was, and one of the reasons everyone liked her. But Gracie also had her own special fall job to do, the biggest, longest, hardest job of all. Gracie had to fly south. That made Gracie sad. Sure, she loved to fly, but it was so hard to leave the nice homey house and all the nice friendly friends she had right here. Oh, of course, Gracie told herself, I don't have to leave today or tomorrow or even the day after that. No, I just have to leave sometime pretty soon, but not really soon. When she thought about it that way, Gracie felt better. All I have to do right away, she thought, is plan my trip. And maybe I can even get Mitzi to help me. Mitzi was Mitzi Mouse, a very cheery, lively little merry mouse who was especially good at planning things. So Gracie set off to see Mitzi, but she decided to visit Oscar Owl at the library first. Fritz Frog was there too, speed reading a recipe book. Fritz was very speedy about everything he did. Oscar was standing on a ladder, putting up a special display. "Hoo-hoo!" he said when he saw Gracie. "Hoo-hoo! I was just thinking of you." "You were?" Gracie said. It was exciting to think that someone as important and brilliant as Oscar Owl had just been thinking of her. "I was indeed," Oscar said. "Indeed I was. I was thinking that you should be leaving us soon. Ooh, you should indeed. You should." "Oh, yes, that," Gracie said. She wished that Oscar had been thinking about how nice she was, or how clever she was, or, well, almost anything except how soon she had to leave. "Remember," Oscar said, "they who hesitate are late. That's from my book. You've read my book, haven't you? Would you like to read it again?" "I'm afraid I don't have time," Gracie said, "if I have to leave so soon." Then Gracie left the library. But she wasn't in the mood to visit Mitzi anymore. So she just went home. "I hope I wasn't rude to Oscar," she thought on the way. "But he was a little rude himself, telling me that I should be leaving like that. Yeah, he was indeed. Indeed he was. But maybe he didn't mean anything by it." The next day, Gracie set off again to see Mitzi, but she decided to visit Priscilla Opossum first. Priscilla was busy making a quilt, and Hunky and Dory were busy watching and munching on honey buns. "This quilt is for us," Hunky announced. "To keep us warm and snug while we're hibernating," Dory added. "Hibernating is so great," Priscilla said with a yawn. "I wish I got to hibernate," Gracie said. "But you get to fly south," the twins said. "That's right," Priscilla said. "Gracie should be leaving any day now." "I'm in no hurry," Gracie said. She thought Priscilla would understand because Priscilla was never in any hurry to do anything at all. "But you have to go soon," Priscilla said, "before it gets too cold." "I suppose," Gracie said. When Gracie left Priscilla's house, she was not in the mood to visit Mitzi anymore, so she went home. "Even Priscilla thinks I should hurry up and leave," she said to herself. "This is starting to hurt my feelings." The next day, Gracie set off again to see Mitzi, but she decided to visit Brad Badger first. Burl Squirrel and Myra Mole were already there, admiring Brad's latest gardening success, a humongous pumpkin that had just won a humongous trophy. "That's the biggest trophy I've ever seen," Burl said. "And the biggest pumpkin I've seen," Gracie said. "And Brad's going to make the biggest pumpkin pie anybody's ever seen," Myra said. "Myra," Burl said. "Shh," Brad said. "Oops," Myra said. "What's wrong?" Gracie asked. "Nothing. I just didn't want to tell you about the pie," said Brad. "Why not?" Gracie asked. "I love pie." "He can't make it until you leave," Myra said. "Myra," Burl said. "Shh," Brad said. "Oops," Myra said. "She didn't mean that," Brad said. "She meant I have to wait until the pumpkin's ready, and the pumpkin won't be ready until you leave." I see, Gracie said, but she didn't see, not at all. She wasn't in the mood to visit Mitzi anymore, so she went home. Why won't the pumpkin be ready until I leave? Huh? She asked herself on the way. It doesn't make sense. I guess Brad doesn't want me to have any pie. And there's a picture of that pumpkin, and it's bigger than the badger. It's huge. The next day, Gracie set off again to visit Mitzi. This time I'm not stopping anywhere else, she told herself, but then she heard music coming from the Snuggle Inn, Felicia Fox's cozy log cabin lodge. That sounds like the Forest Trio, Gracie thought. I'd love to listen to them for a minute. So she went inside, and there they were. Ruby Redbird and Benson Bear and Felicia Fox herself, singing and playing and having a great time, but they quit the instant they saw Gracie. We were just leaving, Ruby said. Right, Felicia said. They were just leaving. But Felicia, Benson said, you promised us bran muffins. They're very good for us, you said. Benson, Ruby said sternly. Oh, right. We were just leaving, Benson said. Speaking of leaving, Felicia said, turning to Gracie. No, Gracie said. I don't want to speak of leaving. And she ran very fast right out of the lodge. After that, Gracie certainly was not in the mood to visit Mitzi anymore, so she went home. I'll go first thing tomorrow, she told herself. It's obviously time for me to leave town. Everybody seems to think so. There was frost on Gracie's lawn the next morning when she set off again to see Mitzi. This time I'm really not going anywhere else, she told herself. And she really didn't. When Gracie arrived, Mitzi was putting away her cool summer clothes and taking out her warm fall ones. Don't you just love fall? She said. I just love fall because I get to wear plaid. And I just love plaid. Don't you just love plaid? Yes, I do, said Gracie. Especially yours. For Mitzi was wearing a lot of plaid right then. Plaid is a pattern that has stripes going up and down and side to side. You've probably seen it on flannel. And also, I get to make cheesecake, Mitzi said. And I just love cheesecake. Don't you just love cheesecake? Yes, I do, Gracie said. Especially yours, for Mitzi made the best cheesecake in the whole world. Of course, I make cheesecake all year long, Mitzi said, but now I can make my special fall cheesecake. Oh, I just love that one. Which reminds me, don't ask why. When are you heading south? Soon, Gracie said. Very, very soon. Just as soon as I can get ready. Can I help? Mitzi asked. I just love to help you get ready. Wouldn't you just love to have me help? We'll start by making a good plan. I just love to make plans. Just then there was a loud pounding on the door. Then a very loud voice called, Is Gracie Goose in there? I absolutely must find her immediately. When Mitzi opened the door, there stood Granville Groundhog, all loaded down with books and charts and maps and graphs and bad news. I've been studying and calculating and figuring, he said, and figuring and calculating and studying, and it's my duty to report that cold weather is coming soon, very cold weather, coming very, very soon, and it's my duty to report that Gracie should fly south as soon as possible by tomorrow at the latest. Granville sounded extremely upset. It was enough to give Gracie goosebumps. But I'm not ready, she cried. Don't worry, Mitzi said. I'm going to help you. Then Mitzi hurried home with Gracie, but not before she whispered into Granville's ear, "Spread the word. Tell everyone to hurry." There's a picture of Granville Groundhog and Mitzi Mouse whispering. I wonder what it's about. "First, you have to take a nap," Mitzi said when they got to Gracie's house. "But Mitzi," Gracie said, "want you to get me ready to go." No. You need to rest for tomorrow," Mitzi said. "I need to get you ready. Let's see. I'll get Brad to water your plants. The bears can eat up everything in your kitchen, and that's a good thing for once. I'll get, Granville to write up a forecast for your trip, and I'll pack your suitcase." "Oh, you're so good at this," Gracie said. "Maybe just a little nap." After all, it had been a long morning, and Gracie did feel sort of tired, and it was going to be a long trip, a very long trip, so Gracie took a nap. In fact, she napped and napped and napped all afternoon. Meanwhile, everyone else in town worked and worked on a special surprise, each in his or her own way, and one by one, when they were done, they quietly and carefully sneaked into Gracie's house. There's a picture of Gracie sleeping, and you can see everybody outside. Gracie awoke to the sound of music and happy voices. Surprise! Surprise! She had guests. Lots and lots of guests. They were giving her a going away party. And it was a great party. The Forest Trio performed, and they were great. Oscar read a poem, and it was great. And there was food and more food, and it was all great. Mitzi had made a cheesecake. "It's my special fall one," she said. "Don't you just love it?" Burl had brought zillions of nuts, and Fritz had brought fritters. "No, I've never made them before," he said shyly. "I've never made anything before, but I wanted to make them for you, Gracie." And Brad had brought the biggest pumpkin pie anybody had ever seen. "I'm sure it would win a prize," he said. "If we were having a contest, I mean." Gracie was happier than she'd ever been in her life. So this is why y'all wanted me to leave," she said. "You silly goose," Myra said. "Nobody wanted you to leave."
"We just knew you'd have to leave sometime,"
Burl explained. "So we needed to know when," Felicia added. "So we could be ready," Mitzi squeaked. "For the party," Hunky and Dory chimed in. "I just love parties," Mitzi said. "Don't you just love parties?" "I do," said Gracie. "Especially this one." And you can see Brad's giant pumpkin pie. Oh my goodness, it's as big as all of those animals. They're going to have pumpkin pie for a very long time. It was freezing the next morning, but everyone turned out to see Gracie off. "It's my duty to report that the cold front has arrived," Granville announced. "It has indeed," Oscar said. "Indeed it has." "I guess I better get going then," Gracie said. "Yes, you'd better get going," Mitzi squeaked, and then she blushed and quickly added, "For your own good, I mean." Gracie laughed. "I know," she said. "I've learned my lesson. I'll never jump to silly conclusions again." "Oh," Oscar said. "Instead of jumping to conclusions, try to clear up your confusions. It's in my book." "I'll remember that," Gracie said. "I promise." She turned to the south and spread her wings. "Goodbye, everybody," she said. "Goodbye, Gracie," They all answered, "We'll miss you." They all watched as she flew up, 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 high in the sky. "We love you," Mitzi called after her, and as Gracie looked back one last time, everybody else joined in. "We'll always love you," they cried. "We're your friends." See you next spring. The end. Let's meet someone new. I love learning about trustworthiness on ropes courses. Now that might sound a little crazy. What a ropes course is either a very low system of ropes and logs and balance beams and seesaws that you can stand on, or sometimes it's all the way up in the air and you have to climb to get on that ropes course. Now, a few of my friends have ropes courses either at a camp where they work or at their school. Sometimes you might even see them on a family vacation. But these friends have told me some really neat stories and sent me some really cool pictures of what they have learned about trustworthiness on a ropes course. Let's watch.
Hi everyone, I am Salmon and I have been on a ropes course for as long as I can remember. Let's see, probably by the time when I was 12, I started climbing at camp, and then kind of now I'm in charge of a ropes course, so that's pretty cool. So I have some questions that I've answered for you. So the first one is, what does trustworthiness mean to you? So trustworthiness to me means that you're always trusted to do the right thing and tell the truth even when no one's watching, or you just always just do it because that's who you are. The second one was, how do people learn trustworthiness on a ropes course? So on a ropes course you have to build a team to be able to trust each other. So that starts small. So with small things like a trust fall or just little things, so you build trust. Because you have to trust your team to keep you safe, and your team has to trust you to make that you're paying attention and going to keep them safe. And my favorite story on the ropes course is usually, there's a lot, but usually my favorite is when someone does something that they don't think they can do, or they're really scared and nervous and they just go for it. That's my favorite thing. So we had this woman who was doing the ropes course, and she was pretty athletic, and she didn't think she could do one of our hardest parts, and she struggled, and she was probably up there for like half an hour, and she did it. And when she got to the other side that I was on, she just like grabbed me and hugged me and started crying because she was so proud of herself, and I was so proud of her. She did a great job. So I have tons of stories like that. Just because you think you can't do something, and you can do it, you just have to try and believe in yourself, even if it's hard. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica. I believe that trustworthiness is being able to be counted on and relied upon in a time of need by other people. I believe that you can learn trustworthiness through a ropes course by participating in the different challenges and helping your team complete them. This shows that your team can rely on you to help them reach the goal. My favorite thing about working on a ropes course has been working with my best friend. We were best friends before we started, but we knew we could trust each other, and that trust allowed us to help other children have a really fun, safe time.
Hi guys, I'm Little Duck. I worked on summer staff at Holiday Lake 4-H Educational Center in 2015 and 2016 on the ropes course. I taught high ropes, and it was by far one of the most awesome experiences ever. So I was asked to answer a few questions about trustworthiness. And trustworthiness to me means being supportive of our friends and being really reliable. So being there when they need you and offering the help that they need when they need it. So on the ropes course, this looks very interesting because a lot of the times people are really scared before they go on a ropes course. Either they're afraid of heights, or they're just really nervous because it's something they've never done before. So on a ropes course, trustworthiness looks like remembering what you were taught by your teachers. It also means being reassuring of your friends and reminding them that it's okay to be afraid, and reminding them of everything that's in place so that they can remain safe. So trustworthiness is really just following through on what you've been taught to do or what you've said you're going to do, and being there for those that are around you. And so my last question was about telling a story from the ropes course that was my favorite. And it's hard to pick a favorite, but I'd say that one of my favorite memories is helping those on the ropes course who have been really afraid, and then seeing them complete the ropes course and go down the zip line and come back saying that was awesome. That's probably my favorite memory. Second on my memory list, but kind of going in with the first, is the 4-H center that I worked at did a camp called Camp Loud and Clear. And that was a camp for children who are deaf or hard of hearing. And it was my favorite camp. Even though it was only a weekend, it was my favorite camp. And what I really enjoyed there was being able to help the children that were there go down the zip line, and really changing the way that we did things to make sure that they felt safe and that they were able to communicate with us, and to make sure that they had fun too. And I really loved working the zip line for those kids. It's probably the camp that changed me the most and made me a better ropes course teacher. So I hope that was helpful.
Sometimes ropes courses are low and they involve blindfolds and seesaws. Let's visit the Holiday Lake Center High Ropes course. Oh look, there's Amp with a rope that she coiled up, and everybody's putting on helmets to be able to climb. Oh goodness, it's hard sometimes to get up this giant ladder to the top. Oh look, Photon's trying and trying. Yay, she made it! Look at Amp and Photon celebrating. Time to transfer and go to another part of the course. At the end, you come down and feel pretty awesome. Oh man, that was fascinating to learn all the different ways people build trustworthiness in each other. And they build their own trustworthiness on a ropes course. I want to thank all of my friends for sending me pictures and videos. That was so much fun. It's time to sing. This song is very easy, but it's got some longer words in it that we'll break down as we go. The first part is, we must at all times. Now you repeat that. We must at all times manifest our truthfulness. And the word manifest means becoming like that thing and bringing it into our heart. So if we really want to be honest, we're going to manifest our truthfulness. Are you ready? We must at all times manifest our truthfulness. Good job. So there's a second part to the song that goes, our truthfulness, and sincerity. Sincerity is a word that means doing what we will say and saying what we will do, or making sure that we're speaking honestly and keeping our word. Are you ready to put all of that together? Let's do it. We must at all times manifest our truthfulness, truthfulness, our truthfulness, and sincerity. We must at all times manifest our truthfulness, our truthfulness, our truthfulness, and sincerity. We must at all times manifest our truthfulness, our truthfulness, our truthfulness, and sincerity. We must at all times manifest our truthfulness, our truthfulness, our truthfulness, and sincerity. We must at all times manifest our truthfulness, our truthfulness, our truthfulness, and sincerity. We must at all times manifest our truthfulness, our truthfulness, our truthfulness, and sincerity. Thanks for singing with me. Before we read our last story, I want to thank you guys for joining me today. We learned that trustworthiness is the same thing as being truthful and being honest. And we have to manifest our truthfulness to have trustworthiness. And I want to remind you that it's always good to have an adult to help explain things when they seem a little weird, or you don't know if it's truthful or not. You can ask an adult for help, an adult that you trust. Let's read one more book. Our last story today comes from a collection of stories called The Girl Who Helped Thunder. All of these stories were gathered and retold by James Bruchac and Joseph Bruchac, PhD. Now, this story comes from the Miwok people, and the Miwok people are from San Joaquin and the Sacramento valleys of the Sierra Nevadas, which is a mountain range over on the western part of the United States. And this is the story of Tutak Anula. Long, long ago, a mother bear and her 2 cubs were out walking around when they came to the river that flows through the valley of Yosemite. They waded in, and the cubs began to play in the water until all 3 of them were soaking wet. When they climbed out, they lay down in the sun on a great flat stone to dry their fur. Soon, they fell asleep in the warm light. While they were sleeping, a strange thing happened. The earth moved beneath them, and the stone they were sleeping upon was raised up so high it reached almost to the moon. When the mother bear and her cubs woke, they found themselves trapped on the top of the great steep-sided stone. They began to call for help! Help! In the valley below, the other animals heard their cries. A council was held, and it was decided that someone should climb up to help them. "I will rescue them," Meadow Mouse said. But Meadow Mouse was only able to crawl a short way before sliding back down. "Oh, I'll be the one to do this," Pack Rat said, but he too slipped back down to the bottom. "Ha! None of you can climb like I can," Raccoon bragged. But he got no further than the others before he slid back to the valley floor. "Climbing will not do it," Grizzly Bear roared. Then Grizzly Bear tried to leap up to the top of the great rock, But even though he jumped very high and grabbed the side of the rock with his sharp claws, he could not pull himself up. Grizzly Bear slipped back down to the ground, his claws leaving long scrapes in the side of the great rock. "Watch me. I will do this thing," Mountain Lion growled. He leapt higher than Grizzly Bear, but Mountain Lion did not reach the top either, and his sharp claws left even more marks on the side of the rock. While those other creatures were boasting about what they would do, little Measuring Worm was crawling toward the great rock. Without saying a word, she began to climb. Measuring Worm could move only a little at a time, no more than the length of a finger. We call her an inchworm now. You may have seen her. But even though she climbed slowly, she did not slip back at all. The sun moved across the sky, and the moon appeared, and still Measuring Worm kept climbing. One day passed, and then another, but she never stopped. Finally, Measuring Worm reached the top of the great rock. She spun a rope and used it to lower the mother bear and her 3 cubs back down to the bottom. That great stone still rises above the valley of the Yosemite, although today most call it El Capitan. The name by which the old people knew it is Tutakanula, Measuring Worm's rock. It's nice to have a friend like Measuring Worm, whose trustworthiness means that you get off of the big, big mountain. I will show you a picture of that mountain right after this. I hope that you stay happy, stay healthy, and keep reading.
Stay happy, stay healthy, keep reading. Stay happy, stay healthy, keep reading. Until the day comes we meet again. Stay happy, stay healthy, keep reading, my friend.